In this video, I'm working on a pair of Yanmar Zt370 Outdrives. Specifically, going to be servicing the shift solenoids and replacing the screens. I've got about 25 pairs of these outdrives here, and they have a very low failure rate. Don't have many problems with these, except for the fact that if these solenoids aren't serviced frequently, they tend to shift a little slow or not shift at all. So now I'm going to start by removing the back cover, and that gains you access to the upper gear oil fill plug. So I'm draining the gear oil here first, and then that second cover on the back with the two hoses is going to get you access to the shift solenoids. Those two hoses are seawater supply to cool off the upper gear housing. So get that back cover off, and then you can see the backs of the solenoids, or specifically the coils that go over the shuttle valve. Cut a couple of zip ties there and pop those Deutsch connectors off, and those two coils can be removed by taking those two nuts off. Now pointing at these are where the screens are located, that upper and lower cover, and we'll take those off later. Yeah, so those two nuts come off, and then the coils slide right off the shuttle valve. Wipe off the old grease for the back cover, and then we can pull the shuttle valves out. Now I am pulling the outdrive off here. That's part of the maintenance that we do at the marina, and along with that, we're checking the universal joints. We have had a couple of U-joint failures around 600 hours, but out of the 25 boats we have, with two of these on each one, coupled to a Yanmar 8LV 370 horse, there were specific incidences where it's kind of a usage thing. The two customers that have U-joint failures tend to run their boats really hard, and I think one of them was also in the ocean, so there was large swells and there was excess strain on the U-joints. So all in all, this is a very robust outdrive. And when I pop this off here, it's going to get me access to these pigtails for the shift solenoids. These things come with some crappy bullet connectors from the factory. So we replace the bullet connectors with a knife style or blade style connector. And we slide a piece of shrink tubing over it with a zip tie just to hold it in place. And once those are replaced, they're not going anywhere. Along with that, we're also checking the alignment and the splines for the input shaft. All right, so that's me just backing off the gate valves, shuttle valves. Then we're going to bring them over to my bench and start disassembling. Pulling the O-rings off first. There's 4 different size O-rings on each of these valves. So you kind of just grab them with a pick and rotate around the assembly. Once you get all the O-rings off, bring it over to the vise. and grab a 14mm wrench and turn that upper assembly counterclockwise. That's just threaded in there. And then just back it out the rest of the way, and you're going to find a shuttle valve, spring, and then the rod that drives the valve itself. So you kind of take it all apart and clean everything off with some brake cleaner and blow it off with compressed air. Then you're going to take a piece of Scotch-Brite. See, I don't know if you can see, but there are what looks like moisture or small amounts of rust on that valve. And that's the culprit there for the sluggish shifting. Yeah, if these aren't serviced regularly, uh, they'll either shift very slow or engage very slowly, um, or not shift at all. So those valves will hang up if any moisture or debris gets inside that valve. So kind of just clean it off with some Scotch-Brite and hit it with a degreaser again. Then we're going to stick that valve inside the housing and just make sure it operates smoothly, doesn't hang up anywhere. The tolerances are so tight there that any little debris that gets in will cause it to hang. And then reassembly, don't forget that rod, and then install the valve and rethread that into the housing. Like I said here, there are okay, so we're going to test this actually. You can use the solenoid off the drive to test, and a 12-volt battery. I have a power supply here, and just put 12 volts to it and make sure that valve moves in and out, and then she's good to go. There are, like I said, there are 4 different O-rings to make sure you put them in the correct order, so just check those part numbers. And then lay them out on the bench, in order of how they go on the valve. Now you slide these bad boys back in there and torque them down. I don't think I had a clip of when I torqued. Yep. But when you're doing any job like this, always consult the manual, make sure everything's torqued to spec. This is now removing the back covers for the screens, and I always replace the screens. They are steel. You can clean them out. But as part of our routine maintenance, we replace them along with the O-rings. Yeah, if you see any metal debris, there's going to be a little bit on that magnet. Some small filings are normal, but anything more than that, there's probably an issue. The rest of this is pretty straightforward here, so put a little bit of grease around the detent for the O-ring, pop the O-ring on there, and slide the screen into its hole. Clean off the magnet real good. Put it back in center. That goes on the lower screen. And then, again, torque everything to spec. That's going to be about it for this video. I'm going to do a second part for the remaining service that we perform on the Outdrive, which includes filling with gear oil, the zincs, engine alignment, re-greasing the prop shafts and inspecting all the seals, and then pressure testing and the reinstallation of the drive. Alright, thanks a lot for watching. Have a good one.